Probably a very good one. I have to love the small school vibe. I've known everyone forever. Everyone knows me, and I kind of love it here.
School days, dear old golden rule days. If you've attended school in the last 200 years, then you have something in common with nearly everyone in the United States. The methods of teaching may have changed, and the facilities certainly have changed, but the experience of attending classes to learn is universal. School is where we build lifelong friendships. It's where we face challenges and learn how to overcome them. School is where we learn what excites us and helps us chart a course towards the future. Of course, our experiences in school are as unique as we are. Some of us walked to school, some rode the bus. Some of us attended public school, while others wore uniforms at a private academy. Some of us did well in our studies, and others may have struggled. The history of Fort Edward schools is a lesson in change, in adapting to changing times, and perseverance. We begin with the establishment of 8 common school districts within the town of Fort Edward, including those in Fort Miller, Durkeetown, and 2 in what would become the village. The year was 1818. To put that in perspective, the U.S. Constitution was ratified just 20 years earlier. Paul Revere died in 1818, and the American flag, it looked like this. This building on Notre Dame Street in the village was typical of what school looked like back then. Kids walked to the school closest to where they lived, which could be 4 or 5 miles away. Walking distance. Schools generally covered 1st through 8th grade. Often, the older students helped the younger students with their studies. The typical school day occupied the hours between 9 a.m. and 2 or maybe 4 p.m., and the school year averaged 130 days compared to 180 days in the modern school year. Lessons were read aloud so the teacher could correct any errors immediately. As the town grew, so too did the need for improved school facilities. This is Union Free School Number 1. It was built on donated land on Lower Broadway and combined the 2 smaller village schools into one. School Number 1 opened in 1850. A few years later, a company comprised of 300 stockholders built a private preparatory school in Fort Edward under the name of Washington County Seminary and Collegiate Institute. If you've ever wondered why Seminary Street has so many turns, this is why. The imposing structure was 5 stories high, 300 feet long with a 140-foot wing, and it opened in 1854. Students from around the country paid $29 each for a 14-week term, which included room, board, heat, laundry, and tuition. Dr. Joseph E. King was brought in as principal. Under his leadership, the Collegiate Institute provided moral, intellectual, cultural, vocational, health, and social instruction to its students, with special attention paid to using proper English and public speaking. In 1868, a new school was opened on Seminary Street, known simply as the Seminary Street School. Originally, the school was just a short back structure. The large front section was added in 1904. In 1877, the original Fort Edward Collegiate Institute was destroyed by fire. It would be rebuilt, but it would take time. In the meantime, the Island Grove School on the northern end of Freeman's Island acted as a preparatory school to fill the gap while the Collegiate Institute was rebuilt. Where is Freeman's Island, you may ask? You may know it by its modern name, Rogers Island. The Island Grove School closed in 1881 when the new Fort Edward Collegiate Institute reopened. At that point, Fort Edward was a thriving, active community with a robust manufacturing hub, and the new, grander Collegiate Institute building and Dr. King's adjacent home reflected it. In 1889, the Institute ceased being coeducational and rebranded itself as a ladies' seminary. For just $400, women could take college preparatory or high school graduate courses, as well as learning music, art, elocution, and domestic sciences at the seminary. This building may look familiar to you. The original Union Free School building on Lower Broadway was replaced in 1893 with this larger building, which is still standing on the same School Street site. In 1897, the Union School achieved high school rank by action of the Board of Regents. In March 1910, the Second Collegiate Institute was also destroyed by fire and would not be rebuilt. Dr. King died in June 1913 at 90 years. Between 1913 and 1922, the State Department of Education inspected and reported the Broadway School was inadequate for high school work. Public sentiment in the village led to the construction of the present-day Fort Edward High School. The high school, as we now know it, opened in 1925, and at the time was considered one of the best in the country. The Broadway School became a grammar school, with students transitioning to the new high school after 6th grade. Students attending Seminary Street School were known as Hillers, while those at the Broadway School were Downtowners. In 1936, the Seminary Street School was renamed the Margaret J. O'Donnell School in honor of its longtime teacher and principal. Similarly, in 1939, the Broadway School adopted the name Florence E. Powers School in recognition of Miss Powers' successful career. A letter acknowledging her resignation states, "The board wants you to know that they are deeply appreciative of the services you have rendered to the district for nearly half a century. Your teaching has been marked by unfailing devotion, loyalty, and effectiveness." Among the most touching tributes was this pen and holder set, simply engraved, "From a Grateful Village." In the 1950s, a fundraising campaign was begun by St. Joseph's Church in order to construct a school building. It was to feature a modern, circular design, a gymnasium, and safety features including a door accessing the outside of every classroom. St. Joseph's School opened in 1957. In a move that would consolidate the village schools, an addition was built onto the high school, and in 1970, the elementary wing of Fort Edward School opened, allowing all students to attend classes in the same building. Fort Edward takes great pride in its students, their achievements as a group and as individuals. In the 200-year history of Fort Edward schools, education and learning have evolved to meet the changing times. As a community, we support our Flying Fort sports team. As a community, we applaud the successes our students have made in music, the arts, and academically. As a community, we marvel at the ability of our students to adapt and overcome. For more than 2 centuries, time and time again, Fort Edward schools have risen to the challenge. We recognize the hard and sometimes thankless work of our educators and support staff. We celebrate the triumphs of our students and offer encouragement, support, and love when they face obstacles along the way.
It was very stressful. I really couldn't deal with it at the time. Obviously, a lot of us went through it a little differently, but my mind state was so bad at that time and whatnot, and I had to rely on my friends for a lot of stuff, and I lost relationships with people, so COVID really hit hard. But my grades went up super well, so that was a good point of it.
It was really stressful at first, but I called my friends a lot, and I think it made me remember what I liked about going to high school, because I liked seeing my friends in person and seeing the teachers, and I just liked all the field trips and everything. And we're lucky that we get to go on our senior trip this year.
Initially, I would say I was feeling really bad about it because I'm not getting a senior year at all. But looking forward to, we got the vaccine really quickly. So in April, May, we started rolling out okay, all the seniors are coming back. We're gonna have a trip. We're gonna have a small prom. We're still gonna actually do things, and that's been awesome. Especially since we're a small school, we can do that. Not a lot of people are doing that, but it's awesome that we get to do that here.
I just know that our school doesn't really get a lot of recognition. We're kind of known for being small. Some people think like, oh, like, because they're a small school, it's not as good, but like, we're really accepting here at Fort Edward, which is another thing I really, really liked about our school. And again, a lot of people don't understand that, but like, we're one of the most accepting schools here, like Washington County, I guess. And you can't really find that anywhere else. Like, we're very close. We're like a big family here at Fort Edward, and it's really great.